When I started my own marketing agency about 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot of us around. Nowadays, there's so many people doing websites that I say you can basically go outside, kick a tree, and a couple of web developers will fall out. And they're basically charging all kinds of pricing. I've seen websites as low as $1,000 all the way to $10,000 and something all the way in the middle. Pretty much all for the same service. So that leaves a lot of business owners probably just like you wondering, how much does it cost to build a website? So in this video, we're gonna go through the basic cost average and discuss some of the hidden costs that you don't wanna be surprised about. Let's go. Hey everybody, this is Antoine Dupont and welcome to another video. If you're new here and you're looking for practical and tactical ways to grow your business, then please subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a thing. When answering the question, how much does it cost to build a website, we need to break it down into details because it's just way too general for a proper answer. It's like asking, how much does it cost to buy a car? Well, it depends on a lot of things. Do you want a pickup truck or a sedan? Do you want a Mercedes-Benz or a Nissan? What do you want? It really depends on a lot of things. Well, the same applies to a website. So when you're dealing with a professional webmaster, they're going to ask you questions like this. 1. What is the purpose of the website? 2. Does it need membership capabilities or online registration capabilities? 3. Do you need e-commerce or any kind of financial transactions going on onto your website? And 4, probably the most important one, will we need to do any kind of custom programming because you have something very specific for your website that you need us to build, which is not standard? Because these 4 questions will impact the final price. But right now, I'm going to give you a general average if you're tire kicking a few web developers in your area. Generally, a website built in North America or in Europe by a professional web agency is going to cost you anywhere between $3,000 and $6,000. And for a larger type of business that may have 30, 40 pages and a little bit of customization, it's going to cost you anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. And when it comes to e-commerce website, I have not seen a properly built e-commerce website for less than $15,000 to $25,000. Now you can reduce the cost of building your website by outsourcing it to a developing country. But, and there is a big but, you need to be careful. Now, I am not knocking them because I have used outsourcing many times. But here is my tip for you if you're going to choose to outsource. There's a couple of problems that come in the way. Number 1 is the language barrier. And number 2, if you're not happy with the result, well, you're pretty much screwed. In my experience, it's great to use outsourcing companies when you're very, very specific on what you want and you basically give them a blueprint and you say, execute that. Just make it happen exactly as it is described. But if you're expecting someone to bounce ideas with you because you're not entirely sure of what you need, outsourcing is probably not going to be a good idea for you. So how do developers calculate their prices? Generally speaking, agencies charge by the hour. And if you want to hire a decent agency, they will charge on average between $75 to $150 for web development. So if a web agency is charging you $3,000 for a website and we're going to take on the average hourly rate of $100 an hour, you know you should be expecting that web developer to be spending at least 30 hours on your website. The same goes for a $5,000 website. Should expect the person to spend at least 50 hours on it. Does that make sense? And in my experience, and I've been in this business for almost 20 years, it takes on average about 30 to 35 hours to build a decent website. And generally speaking, this is what we charge in my agency, about $3,500 for a starter website because we know it's going to take us about 35 hours to build it. So when I get a business owner come to me and telling me that they got a quote for $1,500 for a website, I know in my head that it's going to take them about 15 hours. And my immediate questions is, what corners are they going to cut? Now, there's something I want to make super clear with you. The area where you can negotiate effectively as a business owner is the hourly rate. don't negotiate the amount of time, because if you're only giving 15 hours to build a website, there's a lot of corners that are going to get cut and you're not going to get with a proper website. Remember that at the core, it takes about 30 to 40 hours to build a website any way you slice it. You got to get the content right, you got to get the pictures right, you got to get the titles, the heading, and all that stuff. And trust me, I've been doing this for 20 years. Building a website in less than 30 hours is very challenging. Let me break it down for you to show you how you get to 30 hours. Let's take the average small business website to be a 10-page website. It will take the average web developer between 5 to 8 hours to develop the homepage alone. So that's 8 hours right there, one full day. Once the homepage has been built, you've got a big chunk of the development done, but you need to do the interior pages. And I would expect a web developer to take about 2 to 3 hours per interior pages. And if you have 10 of them, well, you do the math. It's almost 30 hours just for the interior pages. So 30 hours for the interior pages and 5 to 8 hours for the homepage, well, you do the math, you have it right there. It's about 35 to 38 hours. And bottom line, I have been in this business for a long time. Anyone that tells me that they can build a website in 15 hours, they're lying. And remember, we haven't even discussed managing the project, which means that there's going to be at least 1, 2, maybe 3 conference calls. That's going to take some time. We should allocate probably 2 to 3 hours just for that. Then there's going to be the tweaking phase, tweaking the picture, make it bigger, make it smaller, change the font title, probably 3-4 hours just for that as well. And then doing a little bit of optimization, at least the basics, that's going to take you 3 to 4 hours for that. Yeah, you can add up all these hours. You can see that it easily takes you to 30 to 40 hours any way you slice it. So now that you know that, at least you have a good sense. The average agency is going to charge you about $100 an hour, but there are some freelancers out there that will work for 50 to 75 bucks, so maybe you can make a deal and lower your cost. But any way you slice it, the amount of time it's going to take to build a website, you can negotiate that because it just basically needs all that time. So now let's talk about some of the hidden costs you may have not thought of. One of the first things that we see with people getting stuck in when they're doing a website is content. They're saying, oh yeah, I got the content, I'll get it done. And then 6 weeks later, no content. Well, that could be a hidden cost because one of the issues that you're going to have is maybe you don't have the time or the skills to actually write proper content. So in case you need to outsource having your content written, well, it's the same thing. It's going to cost you between $100 to $300 per page of content written just for you. If you haven't budgeted for that, or you weren't expecting that you do 10 pages at, let's say, 150 bucks, that's an additional 1,500 bucks you didn't think of. The second hidden cost is, do you have a CRM that requires a form to be customized on the website that's going to require all kinds of coding? It might not be super complex in nature, but you may be burning like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours on trying to embed a form, and it's something you hadn't thought about, and your webmaster is going to want to get paid for that. A third thing is the typical thing, oh yeah, we need a store locator for our website. Like as in, like, of course, this is just, I have this in the drawer, let me just pull it out and put it on your website. Well, you have to source it. There's multiple types of store locators, and some may be completely free as a free plugin, and some may cost you a few bucks. Regardless, someone's going to have to go find a store locator, embed it in your website, and customize it for your needs. And you could be easily burning 5, 10, 15 hours just for that. We're going to take the 5 hours at $100 an hour. That's an additional $500 that you were not expecting to pay. You got to think about that. And actually, it comes down to the question your webmaster is going to ask you. So make sure they ask the right question and make sure you have thought of everything. And a fourth one that someone just recently asked me was having the website in multiple languages. And so when we discussed that, I says, do you want a Google drop down, the Google Translate drop down, or do you want fully translated pages from English to Spanish? And they say, no, we want fully translated pages from English to Spanish, which means that in the top right-hand corner, they can switch between English or Spanish. Well, guess what? That's the same type of stuff. It's not super complicated, but it adds on to the project, and you may be burning 2, 3, 4, an additional 5 hours worth of work just to make it happen. Not to mention that the text has to be translated probably by someone professional. So here is another hidden cost that could add an additional $500 to $1,000 to your project that you hadn't thought of. Now let's talk about the domain name, because that's often a place where I see people with a deer in the headlight. They're like, domain name, yeah, sure, I have one. I have no idea where, but I don't know how to get to it. Now, a domain name by itself is not that expensive. It's about 10 to 20 bucks if you go to GoDaddy or Network Solutions. It's very inexpensive. But if you don't have the login ID and password to your domain name, that can certainly add a lot of time and a lot of headaches to your bottom line, because you or someone's gonna have to try to dig it up and get control of that domain name. Now, you're also gonna have to host your website somewhere, right? And hosting prices vary greatly depending on what service you're going to use. For most of our clients, we're using a couple of servers. We have servers in GoDaddy and we have servers with the Amazon cloud servers. Now, obviously, there's a huge difference in price between the GoDaddy servers and the Amazon servers, which are a lot better performing. Now, most web agencies are going to offer a bundle price for the hosting plus support plus maintenance. And I would say you would need to budget at least 50 to 100 bucks a month to get the hosting and the support that you're going to need. And a lot of people decide to host on their own, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that until you get a problem or your website got hacked. And then you're in a panic and you need someone to go and fix it. And at 100 bucks an hour, maybe 3, 4, 5, 10 hours, or trying to bail your website out, you're gonna be spending a lot more money that you would have if you had been paying the 50 to 100 bucks an hour on monthly support. So be careful of the false savings. Having someone you can rely on to help you with support and maintenance on your website, it's probably easily worth 50 to 100 bucks a month. You also need to be aware that if your website is on WordPress, it is going to have to be maintained, which means that the plugins needs to be updated on a regular basis. Usually people forget about this, and a couple of years after they had their website built, then their website completely disappears or is completely wonky. It's because they haven't updated their plugin. And then they need someone to go in there and fix the whole thing, and they have to spend $500 to $1,000. And I'm like, my question is like, well, where's the savings there? Now, finally, I cannot talk about website costs without talking about a little bit about SEO, because for me, if you build a website and you don't do at least a little bit of the basic SEO, then what's the point, right? I mean, seriously, you have 2 billion websites out there probably for your products and services. What are the chances that yours is going to rank if you don't do the basic SEO? Basically, optimizing your website for SEO, for a specific keyword in your geographical area for your industry, you should expect to pay at least between 750 bucks to 1,500 bucks one time to optimize your website and at least do the basic SEO. Question of the day: what is the most surprising hidden cost you had in a website development that you were not expecting? Put it in the comments below and have fun with this. Okay, so this does it for today. If you have any comments, suggestions, anything, put them in the comments below. And before you leave, please subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a thing. Thank you.